Hello everyone, we're group 4. It's me, Trâm. There's also Hồng, Linh, Hoàng, Thảo, Nguyên, and Minh. So today I'm going to present to you about what we have done for our final projects of this Monday QR class. In reality, besides the time spending on in-person classes, most of Fulbright students don't have to stay on campus. However, as observed, there are still a lot of students prefer to present though they don't have any class on this day. They will sit at some free spaces in the library or have a talk with the other friends. So it made us question that does the amount of free time spending on campus have any impacts to one's person's social network? By interpreting the data from a large-scale survey provided in this class, we used computer programming and what we had studied about human networks to critically process the data and examine whether our hypothesis is correct or not. Here on the screen are our null and the alternative hypothesis. So how did we conduct our projects? In the first phase, we refined data. After we removed all of the outliers, the data left we have is from 115 students. In the second phase, we processed the data. As we're going to study about two main variables, the amount of time and the network size. They were not available in this survey. Hence, we extracted data from some available variables to create our own. Firstly, to determine the amount of free time on campus, we used data from 3 available questions that we mentioned on the screen. Regarding the first questions, we expected that what student filled in this question is both study time and free time included. For the second questions, we expected that the number that students filled in the survey included both in-person and online classes. For the third questions, we assumed that students did not count the amount of time studying online classes when they filled in the survey. Hence, we created this formula. The total time on campus is the number that they filled in the questions. How much time do you usually spend on campus per day? And the time that they spend on in-person class is the total courses minus for the online courses. Why we multiply them for 3 and 6? Please read the explanation on the screen. After calculated, for all those that were on campus without classes per week was negative, theirs would be set to 0, since they did not even count a sufficient amount of time they should have spent on campus for classes. Next step. So after having all these figures, how do we know if they prefer to stay on campus or not? We define the upper and the bottom groups. So 30% who have the biggest number and the smallest number were chosen. In this case, they were about 35 people in total per group. After that, we compare the network size for those two groups. So to define the network size, we used the data from 2 available questions. The ultimate formula was the total friends they study with at Fulbright and who they socialize with outside of class minus for the overlaps. After having the network sized, how can we find the study approach? The answer is that we conducted the normality test. And then the ultimate p-value was bigger than 5%, which shows that these are non-normal distribution. How does it happen? It was because the limitation data that we have, and the sample size was only 35 per group, so it was too small. Hence, it was implied that time on campus did not significantly influence network size, and our method was non-parametric test. After having the method, we conduct one more test, is Levine. The purpose was to directly test the hypothesis. And one more time, the p-value will also bigger than 5%. Therefore, in terms of network size, 2 sample groups are equal variances. To this phase, we have concluded that our hypothesis will falsifies. We decided to dig deeper into the matter. Does it right that the quantity goes along with the quality? We chose centrality's measure to analyze this social network. We conducted at the same time 2 measures, clonus and eigencentralities. The purpose is to define who has the most influence over the whole network and will spread information most effectively. As observed in the chart, there's no significant difference. After all, will spending more free time means that they're socializing with more friends? We now can conclude that, examining with our null hypothesis, spare time on campus would not have any substantial influence to social network. I was so fascinated to conduct this survey. However, we just want to disclaim that this survey and all of the results were only for academic practices. We would not take any responsibility for further implementation. Why? Because of the limited information that we can get from this survey. The first one is the reliability of the information. We couldn't know what the field in the survey is the correct information or not. The second one is the design of this survey. It was too long, it included too many questions. Hence, it discouraged students to fill in the survey, which consequently leads to the limitation of replies. And for some questions that we need, they weren't even filled. The third limitation is that the number of students who filled the survey. In fact, there was only 143 replies, which were only about first 3 of the total students in our community. That we cannot completely show the representative for our whole Fulbright community. If we could go back time, we would provide our own design questionnaires, which help directly to our study as well as more motivated all the students to fill in it. After all, why does topic matter? Different from most of the national Vietnam universities, Fulbright is still a small community where students, faculty, and staff can easily have a chance to interact with one others. However, in the upcoming years, it's obviously that the amount of new students will substantially increase. So with the attempt to know spending more free time on campus, we hope that we could define some strategy to expand our human social network, to have better supports and more opportunities in daily life, though it could be left for a future discussion. As you can see, all the 4 questions listed above, it would be perfect advices for the upcoming freshmen. And we should know how to develop our network connection, but also make sure that the quantity will go along with the quality. Last but not least, is there any negative impacts of expanding our network size, which should also never be ignored. So it's your time to dig deeper into this matter. So that's the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening.